others to enjoy life 1 mile at a time. Yes, this is the third video that we're doing with the awesome Gerald from RezRuns. We had such a lovely conversation about the Star Wars Dark Side Challenge that I couldn't keep it to 2 videos, so we're doing a third. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Gerald. We truly, truly appreciate it. And as always, we have the other joyful milers with us. Megan. Hello, Megan.
Hello.
And we have Rob.
Hi.
Jackie could not be with us tonight, but we are going to roll right back into the conversation.
So we're talking characters a little bit.
I think that they really did stack a few of the better characters toward the front of the 10K and half marathon. They did that actually during the inaugural year of Star Wars. They put R2-D2 and C-3PO in the beginning. So I think people really want to get, and they are not at the beginning of the race at the corral zone. So if you want your picture with them, I think that's where people, it's the only place to get it, because they're not before and after. So you have to do it while you're running the race. I just have this thing when I see a line that has more than 50 people in it, I'm pretty much going to keep moving. I'm not the fastest runner in the bunch, and I met a few people who could keep an 8-minute pace between those character stops. I can't do that. And with a GoPro in your hand, if you're trying to get video, that's not going to happen either. I mean, that tends to take a little of my focus away. So, yeah, I pick and choose. I think I'm with Laura, and I do remember Princess. It was the second half of the race. It was after the Magic Kingdom, after the princes and princesses, where things started thinning out a lot. And my theory on this is always been the same. I think that people tend to stop if they're in one of the first 6 or 7 corrals thinking I'm fine. And they'll stop at some of these early character stops. And maybe if you were in A, it was 5 minutes, but by the time B got up there, it was a good 10 to 15 minute wait for a picture. So, I tend to run through those early ones. And I think a lot of people get stuck there. They start losing their time. They start looking at what their pacing is overall and realize they can't do it later. And I think if you're willing to wait, sometimes you can get a picture toward the end of the race. I don't know that's the better characters. Would you agree with me on that one?
Or if
Guys,
or if you get to where after the sweep point is. Like, I know once you're in Epcot for Princess, you can't be swept, so you can stop for, like, I got the picture with Daisy. Of course, there was like hardly any line for that one. So I guess people were just getting ready to finish. But something I noticed, I did watch your preview video and I loved it, and I can't wait for the rest of your content. But I saw a list on like one of those banner stands of all the characters that they had out. This was for the half, correct?
yes.
And this is new. I've never seen anything where they list all the characters with that. That was fantastic.
And I'd have to go back and look at what you're talking, because I don't remember a lot of the stuff. I don't physically see the stuff that I'm shooting sometimes, but yes, I think they did have that. There were twice as many characters in the beginning before you even hit the corral than there were during the inaugural year. And I don't know if Rob can talk.
Well, I was going to say, Gerald, one of my favorite. There definitely wasn't a lot of quote unquote characters. I felt there was a lot of photo ops, like the stationary photo ops. But one of the things I loved last year was the regular Joes dressed up in the Star Wars characters. There was a lot of them, and they were fantastic. They were a lot of fun. When we were coming through Animal Kingdom, I'm almost positive every character stop in Animal Kingdom was actually just people dressed up. I don't think there was like an official quote unquote stuff, because it wasn't. I don't think any of them had handlers. It was just people hanging out dressed up. And then as you left Animal Kingdom, they were all like lined up, like just one after another. It was stormtroopers. It was everything. It just kind of, as you're running out, cheering you on, I was able to kind of stop and take some pictures quickly with them. I just thought they were a blast. One of my biggest problems with last year's weekend was the transportation. How did you find the transportation to be this year?
I would say the resort transportation was fine this time. 10K, I finished got into the parking lot, and I had made a kind of a goal in the beginning because I saw how long the lines were. And you'll see that in some of the video. The lines were just incredibly long before you got into your corral just to get your picture taken. And you know what I'm talking about. And they'll start saying, hey, folks, 20 minutes.
Yep.
We're going to close the lines down. You got to get to your corral. And I just said, I can't do this. I'm not going to wait in this line. I have kind of a goal in mind for my video. And I'll run around just trying to get a lot of shots. I mean, that's my whole being, you know. I want to get about 100 shots before I get into that corral. That way I can have something to put together. And I said, okay, I'm going to go after. And I did, and I closed the place down. So I was actually probably on the last bus that left. So there was no logjam and there were no crowds left. But I did get my picture taken with every character because I stayed till the end. And we did something kind of similar, I think, on Half Marathon Day. We only did Darth Vader, but we stayed after people were done and waited in line. And of course, you know, there had to be 1,000 people waiting to get their picture with Darth. Right,
Yeah.
right. But what else are you going to do?
Right. Get your money's worth. Stay for that picture.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I'm like, okay, you know. This is my thought process on it. I don't know how other people think, but I'm probably not going to go running to the theme park. A lot of people do. I live here, so I kind of have the luxury of saying, I've been there. Mm-hmm. So I look for kind of the things that I can do post-race there at the finish line. Yeah. And I know a lot of people go get a beer. I didn't even know they had a beer tent. Shows you how naive I am. $14 for a souvenir beer glass. I mean, the woman in line next to me had a beer. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough money in my waist pack. So, but yeah, they have a beer tent. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to do after post race, and then you just kind of take your time getting back to the hotel and go have dinner afterward. But it was an interesting weekend, and I mean, I hope a lot of people feel the same way I did, that they really kind of stepped up their game. This time and got a lot of extra characters there in the parks. And I mean, I did the same thing we did for Princess. I waited till about halfway through the half marathon, halfway through the 10K, and that's when I started getting the character, you know, pictures. And it was easier. It was, you know, I waited till after Animal Kingdom, and I was able to reach for the lightsaber, you know, with what was that creature in the ice cave? I forget what it was. You know, that came after Luke Skywalker. But they had that picture stop, and I got my picture with Darth Maul, and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. But it was, you know, there was some availability if you waited while everyone else was probably running behind. I felt like, okay, I've got plenty of time. Mm-hmm. And I actually finished with it. You know, for me, I thought a 12:20 pace about was okay.
That's awesome.
You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually fast.
Right.
Hey, I'll take it.
Right. But Gerald, I want to get to the most important part, at least for me. Let's talk about your bling, and those medals hanging up behind you. They are pretty spectacular this year.
You're making Laura cringe right now.
You know they.
You know, Angel loses his wing every time you let your medals clank, right?
It's the best sound in the world when you hear that after everybody walking around with all their medals on. I think they do a really fantastic job of changing the medals every year. You may know, since this is only 2 years that I've done this one, and it's only been 2 years. The Glass Slipper Challenge, is that medal the same every year, or do they physically change it?
No, I think they change them every year, don't they?
No, the design, the base design is the same.
The color's different.
Yeah, the color is different. So they'll put a different color jewel in it. Next year, who knows, is now the Fairy Tale Challenge, so it's going to be completely revamped. So
these medals were all different. Okay. And when I say that, they were completely different. They literally redesigned every medal from the inaugural to the second year. So let's show you the 10K. So for the 10K, I didn't have my other ones. They were at my other place. But the 10K, this was last year. You remember this one, don't you, Rob? Mm-hmm. So this was the TIE Fighter 10K. Can we see that? Am I holding it properly?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that was last year's 10K. So what they did this year is they went with it looks like a stormtrooper, I believe, from the First Order. So you can see they really dramatically changed the design, the two 10K medals. The difference between the half marathon. So last year, half marathon was Darth Vader, and so it was Darth Vader and his his helmeted head, and then this year's Kylo Ren. So
Yeah, I love
they
that medal.
changed it for the half marathon for this year. Now, I was trying to remember what the challenge medal was from last year, and I want to say it was a Death Star.
Death Star, yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference in the design.
Yep.
And if you remember, Rob, so your Death Star last year could actually spin.
Yeah.
It was kind of three-dimensional. It could spin inside. It had like an out. This one doesn't do that, but it's definitely they've changed the design on it slightly. So I have 3 new medals that look completely different than they did last year.
Pretty safe to say, we could ask the question, but we probably already know the answer. If you had to give this this weekend a grade, what would you give it?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good one.
From A to F. Your choices are A to F.
I think I'd give it a B plus. There's always room for improvement. I like what they did with the characters. There's always room for improvement. I'd give it a B plus.
Okay.
Nice. Very nice.
Maybe an A. Maybe an A. Give him an A.
Ah, there you go. Woo!
We're cheerleaders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's I always say I don't do runDisney for a PR. I don't do runDisney for a POT. You've got to find those opportunities elsewhere. There's a reason you go out and really kill yourself somewhat in a non-Disney race, and that's because if you do that and you're a fan of Star Wars, you're going to have the time to stop to get your picture taken with Darth Maul like I did, and you don't have to worry about it. Of course, I still obsess about it, and people tell me to stop doing that and just have fun. And the reason to try to get that proof of time in for a lot of people who may not realize what that is, go on the website and read up on it. But I think I did it from the beginning because I realized, wow, I don't want to be back there and have to worry that I can't get my picture taken, and I'm really gonna have to run this race, and then God forbid something happens. Maybe you, I don't know, hurt your foot.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you, right? It gives you the opportunity to enjoy the race and not really obsess so much about your time. So I tell everyone to try to shoot for a better proof of time. Although I don't want them to be much better because then we get pushed back a little bit. But.
Right.
So there you go. We are done talking about the Star Wars Dark Side Challenge with Gerald from RezRuns. Thank you, Gerald, so much for joining us. We truly, truly appreciate your input and all of your great video that I enjoy watching very much. If you have not checked out his channel yet, the link will be below. And thank you to our viewers and subscribers. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, take care and have a joyful day.